Many of you are likely well aware by now that Activision Blizzard has been rocked by a massive lawsuit from the state of California, specifically from the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and the allegations levied against the corporation are pretty serious, and the reports from the lawsuit, based on testimonials from employees and based on their own investigations, what that yielded was some pretty horrifying and disgusting discoveries about the culture within the company. What was described as a frat boy culture that has paved the way for things like cube crawls, as they're known internally, which is an activity where drunk or hungover men would harass and court women in cubicles and treat that as if it were a game and competition. Females would be held back from promotions because they may become pregnant and wouldn't be able to fulfill their duties, which is just blatant discrimination. They'd be criticized for picking up their children from daycare. They'd be kicked out of lactation rooms so that men could have meetings in there. Male colleagues would openly joke about RAPE, and I'm spelling it out because YouTube doesn't like it when videos use the word, in front of women. And most tragic of all is a female employee who took her own life during a company trip because of the intense harassment that she suffered during her time there, including an incident that involved nude photos of her being spread and passed around during a holiday party, which is utterly disgusting. This employee took her own life during a company trip, and during that same trip, a male employee had brought butt plugs and lubricant. And the main issue within the company is a lack of accountability for the abusers. When employees try to report them to HR, management, and leadership, they will do nothing about it, issue a slap on the wrist, or straight up actively protect some of these abusers. In fact, it's reported that because some folks at HR were friends with abusers, they would go out of their way to defend them. Females of color had it worse, with one individual being reportedly micromanaged in ways that no other male employees were. As an example, she'd be forced to write a one-page report for how she'd spend her time off when she asked for time off when nobody else had to do that. And these are just some of the allegations. And Activision Blizzard did respond, but categorically denied these allegations and the seriousness of these claims. They talked about how they value diversity and inclusivity for everyone, how there's no place in this industry for misconduct or harassment of any kind, and how they take these allegations seriously. They were adamant that the DFEH was distorting the facts and that many of the cases that they highlighted in terms of descriptions of Blizzard's past were false, and they wagged their finger at the DFEH, stating that we find their behavior to be disgraceful and unprofessional, which is rather hypocritical coming from a company that has consistently behaved disgracefully and unprofessionally. Activision Blizzard insisted that the picture the DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today, and how they're striving to pay all employees fairly for equal or substantially similar work. Now, this bit we absolutely know isn't true based on the wage disparity that Blizzard workers shared in revolt of just how much executives are overpaid, with CEO Bobby Kotick having most recently received a payout of nearly $200 million. And this is just a statement that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, as it takes no accountability, it doesn't even apologize for anything, they just insist everything is A-okay, which we all know isn't true, especially as former employees begin to speak out about their horrible experiences within the company. We'll get to that in a bit. This is a story that has been spreading far and wide, and among those who are utterly disgusted by this are players of Blizzard titles, with World of Warcraft players in particular hosting sit-in protests after Blizzard allegations. So there's one particular protest organized by a guild called Fence Macabre, a role-playing guild that runs faction-neutral stories on the Wormrest Accord and Moonguard servers. And as part of the protest, they've organized a fundraising campaign for the charity Black Girls Code, and they've apparently raised money that goes beyond their initial goal. Now, for those wondering why are they protesting within World of Warcraft, isn't that counterproductive when people are playing the game to protest the company? Well, many of the individuals who are protesting are sublocked, which is what happens when you purchase subscription months in bulk and you end up with prepaid active game time on your account. And so they figured, even though we've canceled our subscription, we have this game time left, might as well do something with that. And so people have been gathering and protesting and having conversations about this whole situation. And the Polygon editor here sat among the protests and talked about what they saw. Some showed up to say goodbye and wish their fellow role players good luck, looking for reasons to return to Final Fantasy XIV. Others used this opportunity to vent anger and frustration with specific Blizzard employees named in the suit. And while this form of protest doesn't necessarily cause a major disruption, it does draw media attention to the issue, and they've raised some money for charity, so, a positive result all around. Now, I've mentioned before how a lack of accountability is a major component of why stuff like this continues to happen, and that especially happens when leadership isn't willing to take responsibility, when they aren't willing to oust the abusers and ensure that they face consequences. And as far as Blizzard is concerned, of course, the leader of that organization is the president, J. Allen Brack, who, according to the lawsuit, allowed toxicity to fester, as reported by the Washington Post here, who noted that 2 accounts stated that Blizzard president J. Allen Brack was personally aware of toxicity in his company, and he failed to take effective measures to protect his employees. The suit especially focused on the toxicity within Blizzard and its World of Warcraft development team. Blizzard in particular is known to have this frat boy culture, and among the most prominent perpetrators is a well-known former World of Warcraft senior creative director, Alex Afrasiabi, who would routinely harass female employees at the company's annual convention, BlizzCon, and these incidents were apparently an open secret at the company. And while President J. Allen Brack did have multiple conversations with Afrasiabi and cautioned him over his drinking and being too friendly toward women employees, it was basically a slap in the wrist, and it certainly didn't stop him from continuing to engage in that kind of behavior. Lo and behold, Afrasiabi continued to make unwanted advances towards women, including groping them and trying to lead them back to his hotel suite. Now, Afrasiabi did leave the company in June of 2020, but it certainly wasn't any kind of dishonorable discharge. From what I understand, he left of his own accord or was allowed to leave with his reputation intact, if you will. And beyond Afrasiabi's activities, the suit alleges that J. Allen Brack heard complaints in early 2019 of employees leaving Blizzard Entertainment due to sexual harassment and sexism, and that women on the Battle.net team, the online platform that connects Blizzard games, were subjected to disparaging comments. Women who were not huge gamers or into the party scene were treated as outsiders in their own company. So let's make one thing very clear. J. Allen Brack knew what was going on. He just didn't castigate the abusers enough. He didn't ensure that they suffered enough consequences that they think twice about doing this, or he didn't oust them from the company as he should have, especially when this was a repeat offense. He didn't ultimately do enough to protect his employees. He enabled the abusers. And this was further confirmed by a former Blizzard employee who tweeted this. J. Allen Brack pulled all of the women into a room the day after this happened, referring to a BlizzCon incident from back in 2016 when Afrasiabi called female colleagues and employees bitches and pulled a "do you know who I am?" likely because they didn't capitulate to his demands somehow. So after that incident, J. Allen Brack apparently pulled all of the women in that room and asked about their concerns. At the time, this individual, Jennifer, thought this was an appropriate response, as J. Allen Brack had assured them that actions had been taken, TM, referring to the fact that this is a very common phrase that typically tends to mean we have really not done anything substantial except for a slap on the wrist. And then Jennifer continues, he remained creative director of World of Warcraft for months, years after, then was given an opportunity to lead his own unannounced project. Consequences, indeed. In a follow-up Twitter thread, Jennifer tweeted, during that meeting with J. Allen Brack, I asked him a question. What does zero tolerance mean? This is what companies keep saying. We have a zero tolerance policy for harassment and abuse and mistreatment and misconduct and all of these different things. So when J. Allen Brack was asked, what does that mean? He asked Jennifer if she thought nothing had happened to Alex, as if to say, do you think I haven't done anything about this? Have I not been proactive about this? Do you think I haven't had a talk with him? Jennifer continues, I'm sure he got talked to. I'm sure the tone was deadly serious. I'm certain J. Allen Brack was unequivocal in his denouncement of that behavior. But ultimately, the abuser kept his job. He was continued to allow to do what he does. He was allowed to continue leading women. A serious talk does nothing, especially if an individual is inherently shitty and knows that they will not suffer any serious consequences. Now, I especially bring up J. Allen Brack because he recently sent an email to employees in response to all of the allegations from the state of California's lawsuit, as posted here by Jason Schreier, who acquired the email and put it out to the public. So here's the email in question. I'd like to read this for you guys and share my own thoughts. Hello, Blizzard. I personally have a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday, and I know you do too. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees are extremely troubling. I know many of you would like to receive more clarity. While I can't comment on the specifics of the case as it's an open investigation, what I can say is that the behavior detailed in the allegations is completely unacceptable, says the man who's been enabling said behavior, who didn't take that behavior seriously enough. And then he proceeds by bullet pointing, it goes with saying it is completely unacceptable for anyone in the company to face discrimination or harassment. It goes with saying that everyone should feel safe working here, whether we're on campus at BlizzCon or working from home. It goes with saying it takes courage to come forward, and all claims brought to the company are investigated by internal and, when needed, external investigators. We take these claims very seriously. Claims can be made without fear of retaliation, and many times I attend to them personally along with our other leaders. I attend to them personally, he says. The man who has enabled Afrasiabi's behavior by not castigating him enough, by not reprimanding him enough. Claims can be made without fear of retaliation, he says, as HR management continuously defend the abusers by telling the victims that this is all somehow their fault, or ignore the issue by telling them there's nothing we can do about it. The statement continues, stepping back, when I talked with Bobby about taking this job, one of the first things I mentioned was a revered saint of the Brack household, Gloria Steinem. What is this pretentious, self-fellatiating, pretentious bullshit? Growing up, the value of women as equals, understanding the work that had been done for equal treatment, and the fact that there was still much to do were common themes. There's just one of those reasons why the fight for equality is incredibly important to me. People with different backgrounds, views, and experiences are essential for Blizzard, our teams, and our player community. I disdain bro culture and have spent my career fighting against it. Well, it sounds to me more like you've spent your entire career enabling it, especially during your tenure as president of Blizzard, which is what a bunch of employees have been saying. So many words put in this email, so much fluff with references to Gloria Steinem and saints and whatnot, but your actions is what ultimately speak for you, and your actions do not match what your stances are in this email.
I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
What do you mean?
Wait.
Which catalog would you like them to step out of?
Could you see Sylvanas looking any other way? Right. So we feel you, and we want to vary our female characters, absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick different catalogs.
Hey, Alex, what catalog is that Tauren female coming out of?
Not one you'd read.
Yeah, sexy cow business.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at how he handled the whole Blitzchung situation, who got banned from a tournament for saying for a few seconds that he supports his own country, Hong Kong, which obviously is a country that's facing a very precarious situation. And just for that, he got banned. And then when J. Allen Brack issued an apology during BlizzCon, I mean, that was just a half-assed apology where he didn't directly reference Blitzchung or the incident and just said very fluffy, vague things, as he's doing right here, right now. The statement continues, iterating on our culture with the same intensity that we bring to our games is imperative, with our values acting as our North Star. This is some of the most important work we do, both as professionals and human beings. A company is more than a legal construct that exists as a piece of paper in a filing cabinet in Delaware. The people that work at the company make it what it is through their actions and creations. Each of us plays a role in maintaining a place of safety for one another, and it is also up to each other, or each of us, to continue to craft the Blizzard we want and commit to doing our part in keeping Blizzard great, but always aspiring for more. But you are the one in power. You, the managers, the leaders, HR, these are the people who can actually do something about this stuff. You know, employees can only do so much, especially when the abusers are protected by the people at the top. The leadership team and I will be meeting with many of you to answer questions and discuss how we can move forward. In the meantime, I want you to know that you can talk to any manager, any HR partner, any member of the legal team, or to anyone on the executive team, including Hey Jay. Really? You can talk to the folks who have enabled abusers or who have ignored your pleas to enact change and to punish the abusers. Is that what the message is right now? To speak to the same people who have been complacent to all this? The statement finishes with, if you feel more comfortable talking to someone outside of Blizzard or prefer to be anonymous, you can contact the Way to Play Integrity line. I feel angry, sad, and a host of other emotions, which doesn't compare to what some of the victims, the victimized employees, have felt in the years that they've been at the company and have been constantly harassed in the manner that they have been. But I also feel grateful to work alongside a set of leaders and thousands of employees who join me in their commitment to continuous improvement. Thank you, Blizzard. J. Allen Brack. Much like how J. Allen Brack's apology during BlizzCon following the Blitzchung incident was a pathetic apology, this is a pathetic way to respond to all of the allegations being levied against them. Just a whole lot of fluff with not much in the way of substance. And I'm not the only one who feels this way, it would seem, as Kotaku spoke to a Blizzard developer and responding to J. Allen Brack's statement, they said this: personally, I was not satisfied by it. I wanted to hear an explicit admission by leadership that we have a problem, followed by concrete steps to fix it. Instead, it felt like a bunch of empty words. The part about Gloria Steinem was particularly confusing to me. J. Allen Brack worked alongside Afrasiabi for years, and it's hard to believe he wasn't aware of his behavior. J. Allen Brack is in that video circulating of a 2010 BlizzCon panel where leaders of the World of Warcraft team were extremely patronizing and sexist to a woman asking a reasonable question. I want J. Allen Brack to resign, and the email didn't change that. And if there's still any doubt that the allegations levied against Activision Blizzard by California's lawsuit have any truth to them, here's a Reddit post linking to the Bloomberg article covering California's lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, and you can see the amount of traction this has gained with over 35,000 upvotes. And scrolling down, you've got a moderator who's actually linked to numerous former employees who have spoken out about their experiences and have confirmed that everything the lawsuit has listed and outlined is true, despite Activision Blizzard's protestations about the legitimacy of these claims. I mean, you can see just how many former employees have spoken out, and you have current employees who have spoken out in support of those who've expressed their negative experiences at the company, their traumatizing experiences at the company. So I'd like to go through some of these former employees' tweets speaking out against Activision Blizzard. So here's Stephanie, former producer, who said, I was one of these women, referring to some of the inappropriate behavior that took place at BlizzCon from Afrasiabi. My incident happened in 2013 at BlizzCon. I previously described a 2016 incident. She faced harassment in 2013 from Afrasiabi. And then scrolling down, I have other incidents described here and some not in several areas. So this employee can confirm that a lot of what's listed in the lawsuit did in fact take place. Next up, we have Tara Field, also former Blizzard employee, and here's what she had to say. This isn't some special new thing that happened because of the Activision Blizzard merger. This is Blizzard culture in particular. It's important to understand that this is nothing new. Some people out there are expressing shock over these allegations, but this has been a thing for years, and those who have worked within Blizzard and just people who have worked in the games industry in general know that this is essentially an open secret, something that just kind of has been normalized. The only difference now is that this stuff is finally being reported on a mass scale, and the hope is that the pressure that this will apply to these companies will pave the road to positive change. Next up, we have Kayla Glover, a Blizzard esports alumni, who said that there's a lot I could add about my own experiences, but I won't here. But she did express that while there are some abhorrent people that contributed to this, there were also advocates who always tried to do the right thing, essentially trying to drive the point that Activision Blizzard isn't some hive mind. There are good people at the company, but there were enough bad apples, if you will, to poison the entire well. Next up, we have Nikki, who expressed, I stayed too long, 7 years, clinging to the Blizzard label. That's another thing Blizzard has to understand. The label Blizzard means something to a lot of people and certainly to a lot of aspiring developers. And so I can only imagine the disillusionment of working at this place and realizing that it's not all that it's made out to be. Sure, they've published some of the most renowned franchises in gaming, but with work culture like this, it's just not a healthy place to work in, physically or mentally. And when Nikki was experiencing all of this harassment, she just kind of went with the flow and thought experiencing this was normal. And then when she went to HR about this, HR told her, you're being a brat. This is how HR behaves, and yet J. Allen Brack is saying, hey, feel comfortable to reach out to HR about your qualms and issues within the company when HR has been a part of the problem. A former male employee at Blizzard, Kyle, expressed something similar where Blizzard was literally the top of the mountain for me, so when I found out that I hated the culture, I had a real crisis of faith about what to do next. It broke me for a while. It's essentially a don't meet your heroes type of situation. And in this initial tweet, he said, I got into a lot of arguments with the frat bros at both Blizzard and Twitch. There's a reason I left both places so quickly, essentially corroborating the reports in the lawsuit that Activision Blizzard claims is completely false. Here's another former employee who talked about their negative experiences with HR. My profit sharing, which I relied on to make ends meet, was docked due to underperforming, and when I went to HR to fight it with proof against his claims, I was told, maybe you are underperforming. The amount of people who still remain in management positions, even after multiple accusations, kept me away, which once again emphasizes the point of lack of consequences and accountability. The abusers can just get away with this stuff, and so they'll keep doing this stuff. Something else that's consistently expressed by former employees reading this lawsuit and all of the allegations is that they're not surprised at all by any of this. I wish I could say I was shocked, surprised, or didn't know things. Here we have a former employee who really went into a lot of detail, saying, I would be hard-pressed to find someone that wasn't witness to sex in the game lounges, coke in the bathrooms during a cube crawl, or a woman who wasn't sexually harassed at least once. Blizzard has claimed that the DFEH reports is false, misleading, irresponsible. I can tell you that I knew what was going to be in this report before I read it, because during my time there for only a year, I witnessed all of these things. When so many former employees are basically saying the same thing, all of this stuff did happen, even if Activision Blizzard's PR statement says that it's ridiculous to suggest that this stuff happened. The dishonesty in Activision Blizzard's PR statement that only seeks to look out for the corporation's interest becomes abundantly clear. Here we have Steph, a former Blizzard employee who said, I spent 10 years trying to break through that particular boys club. Here is Brett, a male former employee who said, I witnessed all of this and more happen to many of my female colleagues when I was at Blizzard, corroborating once again all of the allegations made in the lawsuit. We were told that problematic people were too senior to do anything about it. Once again, lack of consequences and accountability. Then we have two former employees who echo the exact same thing. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. Here we have Shay, who tried to tell HR about discrimination and harassment, and she was met with a response that it was a privilege to work here. You should be grateful. You shouldn't be complaining. We have two other former employees emphasizing that this isn't just a Blizzard studio thing. This is a systemic thing across the games industry. Here's one more that reads, this is a culture issue, not a studio issue. Indeed, we saw Ubisoft and the allegations surrounding that company and how closely they match Activision Blizzard's. That frat boy culture is just prominent in the games industry and within corporations across multiple industries. Last but not least, a former Blizzard employee expressed that sadly, those of us with these experiences carry this with us for the rest of our lives. And that's the thing that is hard to comprehend for a lot of people, just how traumatizing this stuff can be, especially when you're experiencing this in and out for months and years on end. And you just have to sit there and suffer through it because there's nobody out there in a position of power to help you. You just have to bear with it if you don't want to lose your job and if you want to continue to work at a company that creates, projects that you're passionate about, which is why it is absolutely vital that we keep bringing attention to this lawsuit and to all of the incidents listed here, and we keep calling out people like J. Allen Brack, people in power executives who all they do is issue these statements but aren't ultimately being proactive about the things that need to be done to improve the company's work culture, because making games shouldn't be this painful. It shouldn't be this hellish. But that's just one man's take on this whole situation. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the latest developments surrounding this massive lawsuit against Activision Blizzard and these very serious allegations in regards to their work culture. Share your thoughts below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.